Over 24 people have resigned, CEOs, members of government worldwide. But I haven't seen any arrests or investigations here in the United States from this Department of Justice. Prince Andrew, Duke of York, who has since been stripped of his royal titles due to his affiliation with Jeffrey Epstein, has been arrested. Peter Mandelson, who previously served as UK's ambassador to the United States, resigned in disgrace from United Kingdom's House of Lords and the Labour Party, and he's been arrested. Former Prime Minister of Norway, Torbjorn Jagland, has been charged. But we don't see any charges, arrests, or investigations in the United States. What do we see? We see our FBI director celebrating in the locker room at the Olympics overseas. It's fine to be proud of this country, but we should be proud of this country because we have a system of justice that works, and yet we do not. Who are the men that should be investigated? I'll name them right here. Leon Black. You don't even have to see past the redactions to see that this man needs to be investigated. Jess Staley, accused of terrible things. It's right there in the files. Why is he not being investigated? And Leslie Wexner, why did the FBI list him as a co-conspirator in their own documents in a child sex trafficking case and then tell him, according to him, that they had no questions for him? Why is that? Well, the Epstein Files Transparency Act requires the DOJ and the FBI to disclose to us their internal memos and emails about how they made those decisions, whether to prosecute or not prosecute. Yet they have not delivered those memos. And we still don't have the memos and documents and emails from 2008 to explain why Jeffrey Epstein was given such a light sentence in what would have been an open and shut case of child sex trafficking, which allowed him to go back and recommit these terrible crimes, create hundreds of more victims, and ensnare so many other people in his conspiracy. Where are those documents that describe those decisions? We need justice. We want the Department of Justice to get to work, and that's what they need to do now.
Good afternoon. Thank you for joining me here for Tazism as we go through more of the Epstein-Maxwell files and all the updates surrounding them. Let's jump right into it because today has been a doozy of news. Epstein files. Larry Summers to resign as Harvard professor. I know a lot of people thought that he already did, but let's go through it, okay? Larry Summers, the former U.S. Treasury Secretary, who has been dogged by his past friendship with Jeffrey Epstein, announced Wednesday that he will resign from teaching at Harvard University by the end of the current academic year, the university said. Summers previously served as president of Harvard. His resignation came as the university was conducting a review of emails and other documents detailing Summers' connection to Epstein, which were released in recent months by the Department of Justice and Congress. Summers has not been accused of wrongdoing in connection with Epstein yet. He will not teach or take on new advisees until his retirement is effective. In connection with the ongoing review of the university of documents related to Jeffrey Epstein that were recently released by the government, Harvard Kennedy School Dean Jeremy Weinstein has accepted Professor Lawrence H. Summers' resignation from his leadership position as co-director of the Mossavar Rahmani Center for Business and Government. Harvard spokesman Jason Newton told CNBC in a statement on Wednesday. Professor Summers has announced that he will retire from his academic and faculty appointments at Harvard at the end of this academic year and will remain on leave until that time, Newton said. Summers' resignation comes 3 months after he took a leave from Harvard. And that's where a lot of people thought that he had previously retired. He didn't. Where he had been teaching classes, and after he resigned from the board of the artificial intelligence company OpenAI amid controversy over the release of emails between him and Epstein. And this was during that tranche of emails that came directly from the Epstein estate. These are the emails that Mark Epstein offered up, to Congress. I am deeply ashamed of my actions and recognize the pain they have caused. I take full responsibility for my misguided decision, to continue communicating with Mr. Epstein, Summers said in a statement obtained by CNBC in November. His statement came on the heels of reports by the Harvard student newspaper, The Crimson, which detailed how Summers had sought guidance from Epstein while pursuing a romantic relationship with a woman. In a statement to The Crimson on Wednesday, Summers called his decision to leave his professorship difficult, but also said he remained grateful to the thousands of students and colleagues I have had the privilege to teach and work with since coming to Harvard as a graduate student 50 years ago. Free of formal responsibility as president emeritus and a retired professor, I look forward in time to engaging in research, analysis, and commentary on a range of global economic issues, Summers told the newspaper. I don't think that your discernment should allot for you to do that, sir. I don't think that is your ministry. I don't. I really don't. On Tuesday, the Nobel Prize winning scientist Richard Axel said he would step down as co-director of Columbia University's Zuckerman Mind-Brain Behavior Institute in light of his own communications with Epstein drawing attention. A third Ivy League school, Yale University, on February 11th, said it had barred Professor David Gelernter from teaching computer science classes pending a review of his contacts with Epstein, which included mentioning a Yale student for a potential project. And this is how we do it. This is how you do it. The way that educational institutions, the business community is handling this, and no, and people are quickly going, you know what, before they even come at me, I'm just going to step down. This is how you do it. And as they're stepping down, continue the investigations. Attorneys generals in these jurisdictions, this is your time to shine. Y'all want to make your mark. You got into the field of legalese for a reason. This is your season. Other high-profile people recently have suffered professional and legal fallout from their connection to Epstein being detailed in the DOJ's documents database. They FA'd, now they got to FO. Epstein killed himself in a New York City federal jail in 2019, weeks after his arrest on child sex trafficking charges. Like I said, today has been a day of a lot of news. Bill Gates admits to affairs, apologizes for Epstein relationship, according to the Wall Street Journal. Bill Gates took responsibility for his actions over ties to convicted sex offender Jeffrey Epstein in a town hall meeting with employees of the Gates Foundation, the group said in a statement. Gates answered questions at the twice-a-year meeting, February 24th, on a range of issues, including the release of the Epstein files, the foundation said. In the town hall, Bill spoke candidly, addressing several questions in detail and took responsibility for his actions, the foundation said. It's very curious that they chose the date of the State of the Union. The statement came in response to a Wall Street Journal report that said Gates had apologized to staff at the event over his ties to Epstein. I don't think that's who you owe the apology to. You owe some apologies, but not so much to employees. It's amazing. People are always willing to apologize for stuff that doesn't deserve an apology, and to people who... Let's continue. see. The statement came in response to a Wall Street Journal report that said Gates had apologized to the staff at the event over his ties to Epstein. Documents released by the Justice Department have indicated Gates and Epstein met repeatedly to discuss expanding the Microsoft founder's philanthropic efforts. The meetings came after Epstein was in prison for 13 months, ending in 2009 for a conviction on state charges in Florida of soliciting the prostitution involving a minor. Epstein died by suicide in 2019 while in custody on federal charges that he had sex trafficked underage girls. According to the Journal report, Gates told staff it was a huge mistake to spend time with Epstein and bring Gates Foundation executives into meetings with the sex offender. The report cited a recording of Gates' comments in the town hall. Here's the thing: these executives are grown-ass individuals. I apologize to other people who are drawn into this because of the mistake I made. That wasn't a mistake. That wasn't a mistake. You don't get to where you are in life at the level of Bill Gates and you make mistakes like that. That's not a mistake. That's calculated. The journal added Gates also acknowledged 2 affairs with Russian women that Epstein later discovered, but he said they did not involve Epstein's victims. So once again, it shows that Epstein, per his admission, collected blackmail material on people that could be a benefit to him. So is that why Gates was willing to risk it all and involve him in philanthropic efforts, because the foundation would give Epstein access to who? To what? And no, I'm not making excuses for Bill Gates. I'm putting the pieces of the puzzle together, adding more pieces to this puzzle so we can get a clear picture of everything that's going on. Because at this point, I would rather be publicly outed for an affair than have people perceive that I was diddling children. I'd have turned all sorts of state's evidence on Epstein. I would have become an informant. Like, Bill Gates ended up getting a divorce anyway. Like, you were having an extramarital affair. It was going to come out eventually. The journal added Gates also acknowledged 2 affairs with Russian women that Epstein later discovered, but said they did not involve Epstein's victims. I did not elicit. I saw nothing illicit. I did nothing illicit. I saw nothing illicit, Gates told the staff, according to the report. Justice Department documents from the criminal investigation of Epstein that have been released publicly include pictures of the Microsoft founder posing with women whose faces are redacted. Gates had said his relationship with Epstein was limited to philanthropy-related discussions and acknowledged it was a mistake to meet with him. And there are a lot of people, as I've said before, their entire interactions, involvement with Epstein was him donating to their research, him wanting to donate money or hold events for their foundations. And we have to be honest with the lack of context regarding these document releases, number one, and number two, how intentionally the Department of Justice released certain things and how they redacted things, especially pictures. Because it was very calculated, because they know that most people aren't going to go past the surface. They're not going to look for context. They're not going to ask questions. They're going to look at a picture and then decide they know everything that needs to be known about it. That is one of the most annoying things about human beings. You want people to get to know you and understand you, but you want to be able to tell somebody else about their whole life based off of what? Preconceived notions? Somebody who rubbed you the wrong way in the 2nd grade, and you feel like that's going to heal you because you have gotten a new actor for that character that you need closure from? Child, please. Okay. Whew. Oh, sorry. We already went over that one. And we're back to Ghislaine Maxwell's brother. Ghislaine Maxwell's brother details meeting with dark Jeffrey Epstein. The brother of Ghislaine Maxwell detailed a meeting he once had with Jeffrey Epstein as he dished on the dark nature of the late disgraced financier. I met Epstein, and my recollection of him was that he was clearly an intelligent man. Ian Maxwell told the Daily Tea podcast, which is a facet of the Telegraph. That explains why your family has a questionable business history. But okay. He had a kind of dark charisma, Maxwell continued, adding that Epstein was also a very aggressive listener. Aggressive in the sense that you felt he was pulling things from you, because he was. He was. He was pulling once again, Jeffrey Epstein, by his own admission, and this has been confirmed by multiple people who were in his sphere, he was constantly listening and probing for things that he could use for his benefit, whether it was blackmail material to get you to do what he wanted or needed you to do, whatever it was. But yeah, whatever you had to say, he was kind of cutting it and slicing it and taking it. Maxwell emphasized that Epstein didn't give much out, going in the other direction. In fact, very little, he said. Epstein wasn't clubbable either, and Maxwell said he didn't warm to him. Of course not. I'm very leery of information collectors, bone collectors, if you will, people that constantly want to get you talking about yourself, about other people. Just for reference, these are the type of people that like you all could be in the same family, in the same group chats, in the same friend circle, and they will constantly ask you about certain other people that they have the same phone numbers to. They have the same amount of access that you do, but they are there to gather information, and gathering it from you gives them plausible deniability. So if a rumor or something comes out, that, oh, I found out from Susie. Susie told me. He's not someone I would have asked to go for a pint round the corner pub, he said. That was the first and only time he met the convicted sex offender who took his own life in prison in August 2019. His accomplice, Maxwell's sister, Ghislaine, is serving a 20-year prison sentence for sex trafficking, helping Epstein acquire the girls and women he stood accused of violating. Let's not overshadow or leap over the fact that there are victims who state that Maxwell abused them as well. Ghislaine is now fighting the requested release of 90,000 more pages related to Epstein and herself, with her lawyers arguing that a law used to force the public release of millions of documents is unconstitutional. No, sex trafficking people is unconstitutional. The lawyers filed papers late Friday in Manhattan federal court to try to block the release of documents from the since settled civil defamation lawsuit brought a decade ago by the late Epstein victim Virginia Giuffre against Ghislaine. The Justice Department recently asked a judge to lift secrecy requirements on the files. If you're not aware, we are getting to that part in Virginia Roberts Giuffre's memoir, Nobody's Girl. We do go over that every night, Monday through Friday, nightly at 7 Eastern, 6 Central. If you cannot make it over to TikTok to see that, within an hour of us ending over there, I do post it here on YouTube. It has its own playlist, Nobody's Girl. If you want more information regarding that case and everything going into it, that's where we are in the memoir. Ghislaine's attorney said the Justice Department obtained the documents otherwise subject to secrecy orders improperly during the criminal probe of Ghislaine. They said the documents include transcripts of over 30 depositions and private information regarding financial and sexual matters related to Ghislaine and others. between people's lack of the ability to critically think, people's unwillingness to distance themselves from conspiracy theories, and the implementation of AI, I'm beginning to lose hope in these victims receiving justice. One of the comments to this article is this right here. Artsy Gal says, let's be clear. Ghislaine is in Quebec City with her brother. Somebody else says, rightfully so. Sherry said, no, she is in Texas in prison. This photo is AI generated. It's from an AI generated face overlap video. Like, the level of frustration I alone have, because every day there is a new piece of BS, just a new piece of BS getting to the internet. And once again, people are so willing to believe an unsubstantiated lie than they are the truth with 2 tons of evidence to back it up. And it's beyond frustrating. It's truly beyond frustrating. Okay. Okay, hold on. So I've got I thought I had transferred it over. But, just like there are people claiming that the woman that's in prison can't be Ghislaine Maxwell because people don't age like this, that, and yet. But these are the same people who are looking at men and women who have had obvious plastic surgery, but they've aged so well. Now, and I say very obvious plastic surgery because there are times where you really could, until people have come out and go, oh yeah, I had a nip tuck here, I had this, you really could not tell that they had plastic surgery. They were very mindful, very cutesy, very demure with their plastic surgery. They were just like, you know what, all my life I didn't particularly like this, let's fix this, the rest of me can age this way. Different things. Or they'd have like a slight nip and tuck here, slight nip and tuck there, where it was believable that that's how they were aging. But you're not keeping a 20-year-old face. But I can't. I can't. And I also want to point out that Ghislaine is from the UK. She's British. She's British. Great Googling. Great Googling. I can't. Here we go.
Ghislaine Maxwell out and about, not behind bars, is not real. It's a deepfake, and here's how you can tell.
Do I know you? You're not Ghislaine? no, sorry.
No. I first need to validate the fact that your growing sense of distrust because of how this administration is handling the entire case, the evidence that is coming out, that's valid. However, that skepticism, that conspiracy, a lot of people will use that to their financial advantage in exploiting your trust. So number two, if you want to be sure about a post and its validity, you need to go track down the original source, which I finally found. This video originated from Clump on Instagram. However, this creator has started to blame shift to other people who are reposting their original content, which is in fact a deepfake, which is a subset of AI, by the way. Step number three, go to the actual footage and zoom in. You can see facial warping in the proportions of the eyes to the nose to the cheeks. It's obvious when you slow it down, but when it's in a reel and it's going quick, a lot of people cannot tell genuinely. Now that we've confirmed that this video is in fact a deepfake, we need to talk about how this creator is handling that. And when cornered creators like this give the classic excuse, it's just satire. All the people watching it should have known better. And that allegedly they wanted to protect the privacy of the person whose face was swapped out while they were swapping Ghislaine's face in. You're kidding me. Is this misinformation or disinformation? Because when it comes down to disinformation, it's all about the uploader's intention. You should also know that this creator has used unhoused people as content, specifically to run undisclosed ads for RainBet. When it comes down to intent versus impact, they know what impact that video had. A lot of confusion, a lot of people spreading conspiracy, misinformation, and all they care about is making a, quote, shit ton of money. If you're face swapping someone, you need to disclose that. That is your obligation, not the obligation of people who are watching it. Because while satire does often, in a witty way, punch up, critique someone who is higher up, who's exploiting their position of power, one of the fundamental building blocks of satire when it comes to any distortions that you might see is that the distortion needs to be recognizable, clockable. Think of SNL, The Onion. You know what you're getting into. This isn't just a simple distortion of reality. It is a significant corrosive agent towards the voices of the survivors and the victims of Jeffrey Epstein, Ghislaine Maxwell, and their entire ring of perpetrators. So please stop erasing the courage of the people who are choosing to speak up and continue to do so.
It is okay to ask questions. Again, it is okay to ask questions. If you're not certain about things, and I need y'all to learn how, like, work on thinking. You put energy and effort into exercising every other muscle in your body except for the one betwixt your ears and behind your eyes. And I'm not trying to be cruel when I say this, but I need y'all to think. If Ghislaine Maxwell was out and about free, why would she be filing a petition of habeas? Why would her attorneys be in court fighting the release of files if she's already free? If she's globetrotting, what would be the reason? Not to mention, she is still married to an extremely wealthy man. You don't think that she would change her appearance in order to blend in better? Especially if she's paid for a doppelganger or paid for plastic surgery for somebody to take on her face and take her place in prison. Are y'all forgetting or just flat out ignoring that this is an international case? There are thousands of victims around the globe. This is not as simple as, oops, the U.S. wants me and these particular states could prosecute me. Let me just skippity boop bop to another country and I'll have a get out of jail free card. No. And also, if this woman was walking away free, why would she be trying to strong arm Trump into clemency? Hey, Sabrina, thanks for joining us. I promise you, sometimes there are news cycles that really make me question if I want to continue to do what I do. And this is one of them. But moving along. This one's about CBS. C, cat, boy, sister. CBS. CBS's new hire appeared 1,700 times in Epstein's files, and John Oliver just exposed his disturbing emails. Y'all looking everywhere else for cover-ups, but not where you needed to. And I kept saying from the beginning, what have I said? Focused on the women, especially the white women. And especially white women that love to hide behind their respective religions. Everybody keeps telling me that I'm crazy. I'm off basis. I don't know what I'm talking about. I don't miss. I'm I'm surgical with this shit. I'm surgical with this shit. Peter Attia, CBS's longevity expert, has resigned from his role after facing heavy criticism over his connections to Jeffrey Epstein. His resignation came just one day after John Oliver publicly called out CBS on Last Week Tonight for keeping Attia on staff despite the controversy. And here is the thing. Hey, Vix. I've said it before. I'm going to keep saying it until I see more people doing it. Use your acquired online skills for good finally. Y'all have a way of finding out where the pimple on somebody's right booty cheek is because they didn't like your picture or they hearted your bestie's man's picture on Instagram. Y'all will take down a dry cleaner because they wouldn't let you use an expired coupon from 1992. This is your time to shine. This is your time to shine. You want justice for these people? You want the tyranny that we're living under right now to stop? This is your time to shine. This is your time to shine. Attia, who is 52, was brought into CBS News in January by editor-in-chief Barry Weiss. His resignation took effect immediately on Monday morning. His name appeared 1,700 times in the recently released Epstein files, pointing to what many have described as an uncomfortably close relationship between the two. According to the Daily Beast, one email from Attia to Epstein in 2016 read, Cooter biscuit is indeed low carb. Still awaiting results on gluten content, though. Despite this, CBS had initially stood by Attia after these details came to light. Oliver blasted both Attia and CBS over the situation. He pointed out that CBS News appeared to have lower standards than David Protein, a company that had previously let Attia go. But here's the thing. These are people that said when Trump said grab him by the cooter biscuit, it was just locker room talk. And once again, not to make excuses for anybody or give anybody a shield, how many of us would lose jobs if our conversations between our friends became public? Where we were not being derogatory towards people like any particular person. We're just shooting the shit because if every friend group has a language. Okay? Every friend group has a language. And if you're not a part of that language, people can take a lot of things a lot of different ways. Once again, I'm not making excuses, but we got to look at things impartially and in full and as full of context as we can at one time. Would I have necessarily fired somebody for something like that? No, it's two grown-ass men that I'm assuming are talking about grown-ass women. Now, if I found out that the joke was not about grown-ass women, yes, immediately. If the joke comes after Epstein's conviction, oh, my brother in Christ, what are you doing? Are you not embarrassed? Yeah. Other than that, if we did things like this and took away context and decided people could not receive higher education, should not be employed because of these things, we are on a slippery slope of all of us being unemployed and stupid as hell. My job would be in trouble, and not good trouble. Right. I've thought about people I haven't even met face to face ever, that I haven't even sat in a room with, and some people I have through social media, and just the DMs and the jokes and the videos we share back and forth and the posts and the memes. If you don't know how we talk to one another, if you don't know that language that we've established with one another, yeah, you you'd have some questions or you jump to some conclusions. And there are some people who do not ask clarifying questions ever. There are people roaming amongst us that truly believe that they know every damn thing. They'll read something and tell you unequivocally what everybody involved was thinking, what their intent was, blah, 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 and you can't change their mind. And that's okay. Stay over there. Don't come over here with the rest of us. They live in reality, though. John Oliver's public call out likely pushed CBS into finally acting. Oliver directly called out the health expert, stating how comfortable far too many people were with ignoring Epstein's heinous actions. That is true. The Epstein files have continued to reveal troubling connections, including how Epstein recruited hackers to erase his criminal past from the internet. And that is a caveat we also have to take into account when looking at people who came into Epstein's sphere at certain times. Also, once again, if you're new here, no, I'm not giving any excuses. I'm not, giving any alibis to anybody, but we live in reality, and we have to look at this through a lens of reality, okay? If you run a background check on someone and nothing comes up, and you're doing business with them, you establish a friendship, should you be held accountable and be looked at as being just as egregious as them? No, you shouldn't. Also, let's be real. Every friendship isn't identical. You may have a friend that y'all exclusively go to brunch together. You may have a friend that y'all shoot the shit damn near every day, but y'all don't link up outside of, phone calls, text messages, or, centered around the proverbial water cooler at work. Everybody has friends or friend groups or even family members that has no idea about the totality of their life and what they do. We got to keep this in mind. And most importantly, y'all might not like when I say this, but it is the truth. We have to learn from our history. And this is one of those times we have to learn from the perpetual witch hunts that we have that come up every 1 to 2 business generations. We about to start throwing people in barrels into the river as a way to determine if they're the bad guy or not. Did we not learn anything from Salem? Did we not learn anything from McCarthyism? We have to stop compartmentalizing ourselves away from critical thought and reality. Atia's spokesperson later said he resigned to ensure his involvement didn't become a distraction from the important work being done at CBS. It is widely believed that the pressure from Oliver's segment played a significant role in the decision. I don't think that was so much the case. I need everybody to remember something. Barry Weiss already has CBS under increased scrutiny. If Barry Weiss wasn't so polarizing and wasn't so in your face in being corrupt for the sake of Trump and trying to swiftly turn CBS into state media, so to speak, a lot more things could have gone under the radar or would have been smooth sailing for the network. So I don't really think it had anything to do with that. These are people that are still suckling the taint of Trump. They're still riding the wave of white nationalism. It's just there's so much scrutiny already. They don't really have a choice. And looking at everyone else around the globe and around the business world, so there's that. MS Now's Lisa Rubin explains how we know missing Epstein pages are FBI memos of victims' Trump allegations. MS Now's senior legal reporter Lisa Rubin joined anchor Anna Cabrera on Tuesday morning to discuss the latest bombshell reporting about the ongoing Jeffrey Epstein saga, the revelation that some 50 pages related to President Donald Trump Sr. are missing. I want to say something about how we know the pages are missing and who might have seen them, because based on NPR's reporting, many of these documents, and I think some of our viewers are familiar with this, they have a number at the very bottom that starts with EFTA for Epstein Files Transparency Act, and then has a number. That number has a meaning, began Rubin. She then added, and I quote, "It's basically a consecutive numbering of pages of a production so that each page has its own unique identifier. NPR basically looked then at the index, compared it to what was produced for this particular witness and her statements, and has, by comparing those page numbers, counted 50 plus pages that they believe are missing that correspond to these 3 interview memoranda. We have not independently done that ourselves, but I trust that if we were to go through the exercise, they're probably not far off the mark, that there are 50 pages that you would expect to be produced in consecutive order that are missing from this. We can tell you that this particular victim witness had 15 documents that were supposedly reflective of her statements. We, as well as NPR, as well as another independent journalist, have all looked for each of those 15 documents, and all of us collectively have found only 7 of those 15. Again, all 15 of them are reflective of statements that she made, either to the federal law enforcement, to state police via email, but they are all supposed to be reflective of her accounting of events in one way or another, and yet more than half of the documents that are supposedly attributable to this person are missing, including 3 memoranda prepared by the FBI reflecting interviews that they conducted with her in the fall and summer of 2019. In the fall and summer of 2019. So what I think is also very important to underscore here is that not all of her interview files are missing. It's just some of the interview files, added Cabrera, hinting at a targeted deletion. Well, most, replied Rubin, adding, because we know that this woman gave 4 interviews with the FBI, at least according to this index. Only one of those interview memoranda has been shared with the public, and that interview doesn't contain any of her apparent allegations against Donald Trump Sr., and yet we know that she has made them. How do we know? Because the FBI's own internal correspondence and a presentation that they put together in the summer of 2025 reflects that this woman is also the same person who accused Donald Trump of sexually assaulting her, where she said that. To whom she said it, we still don't know, because 3 of her interview memoranda are missing from the public production of the files, Rubin concluded. NPR's report on the missing files also added details as to their content, noting some files have not been made public despite a law mandating their release. These include what appears to be more than 50 pages of FBI interviews and notes from conversations with a woman who accused Trump of sexual abuse decades ago when she was a minor. The Trump Justice Department did not comment to NPR when asked to explain the missing pages. I'm truly beginning to wonder how horrible of an AG Pam Bondi was in Florida. I mean, it's Florida. It's Florida. I get that. But I have tried to find people who previously worked with Pam Bondi that can and are willing to speak, whether off the record to answer some questions or on the record through anonymity. And I have not been successful thus far. And I get that. a lot of times when doing research like that, it can take a while. Sometimes, people just don't want to talk. And sometimes people legally can't for various reasons. But to not understand that your own system is going to work against your targeted redactions, diabolical. Like, I understand playing the general public as if everybody is stupid and forgetting that legal professionals are a part of the general public, just like everybody else. We are a hodgepodge of careers and intellect levels, okay? But this administration really boggles my mind, specifically when attorneys go in the world of legalese. Unlike most other worlds, you're dealing with other people with the same base knowledge that you have. Working in journalism, working in IT, working in education, I can go into realms, I can go into meetings, I can go into business with people who we may not be able to reference each other. We may not come in with the same base level. When somebody hires me regarding IT, they generally hire me because I have a skill set that they don't have. When it comes to litigation, the legalese of it all, you're dealing with other attorneys. You're dealing with judges that were previously attorneys. Like, and a case or cases of this magnitude, you're not dealing with ambulance chasers. You're not dealing fresh out the law school room, okay? You're not smelling Similac on their breath at this level. You dealing with people who got some gray hairs. They got some wrinkles, okay? They got some scratch marks, okay, from life. You dealing with people who got some war stories. But given that these updates, it gets very heavy when it comes to this subject matter. I do my best to try to appropriately lighten things up when I can. And this is one time that I can. Thanks to TMZ. Don't always agree with their journalism style. Ghislaine Maxwell smelled foul at Florida prison, former inmate says. I don't know why y'all think money and socialite status means that they not funky and they not nasty and that they don't also have bath days. Did y'all forget about aristocracy? I know y'all infantilize castle life now. Y'all know that they was like throwing shit out windows. Do you know that there were some queens that wore their funk as a badge of honor? Like, they enjoyed it. You know, they didn't wash them wigs, and a lot of times they started wearing wigs and the heavy powder to cover up smells and lice and all that stuff. All that jazz. Let's keep going. Ghislaine Maxwell is a real stinker in federal prison. You know, if you're a cooter biscuit holder and you do not properly wash it, and don't give me that, it's self-cleaning. So are a lot of ovens, but you still got to put some elbow grease into the totality of it. The self-cleaning part does not self-clean the stove top. You catch what I'm putting down? I hope she gets gangrene in her undercarriage and it just eats her up alive. Could you imagine somebody dying of gangrene of the undercarriage? Where's that Etsy witch at again? The successful one that they suck on old impromptu tracheotomy, died leading to the left Charlie Kirk. I need her. God, I'll pay you. They paid you $5. Don't be a $5 witch no more. I'll give you a smooth $40. You want $40? Just give her a little gangrene of the undercarriage, okay? Give her gangrene of the cooter biscuit in the Bucci cat. Just a little touch. Like, you know. As a matter of fact, she smells like armpits, according to one inmate who knows her well. Her name is Ghislaine. If you know, you know. And given the hygiene requirements that Epstein had over the girls that he liked to do the Uchi Coochie Wally Wally with more often than not, and do I believe that Ghislaine loved Jeffrey? Yes. Do I believe that Ghislaine wanted to bump uglies with any man? No. The female inmate, who we confirmed was incarcerated with Maxwell from 2023 to 2025, had daily contact with the convicted sex child trafficker at FCI Tallahassee in Florida, and it was a smelly experience to say the least. Was she hoping that no other inmate would want to touch? Girl, they want to touch you, but not in that way. They want to touch you, but not in that way. Just so we're clear. Maxwell was transferred to FCI Tallahassee in 2022 after she was convicted on sex trafficking and other charges for conspiring with Jeffrey Epstein to sexually abuse minors. A judge sentenced her to 20 years in federal prison. The inmate, who only spoke on the condition of anonymity while still in Bureau of Prisons custody, tells us Maxwell has horrible personal hygiene and would shower once or twice a week, despite prisoners having regular access to the shower facilities. And let's not forget that she has asked for extra privileges, and don't none of them privileges desire her to come in contact with soap and water. Soap and water. When the funk hits the fan, Ghislaine Maxwell smelling up the stairs. She prison funky, baby. She prison funky. Don't give me no. You know what? You know what? We're gonna y'all know I'm not well. I'm going to that's gonna be my next background song to my next telenovela. And I was worried because Gimme the Couch was coming to an end. Now we got this. Jesus Christ. Maxwell was transferred to FCI Tallahassee in 2022 after she was convicted on sex trafficking and other charges for conspiring with Jeffrey Epstein to sexually abuse minors. A judge sentenced her to 20 years in federal prison. She wasn't just conspiring, she followed through with that. She had to see it through, my boy. The inmate, who only spoke on the condition of anonymity while still in the Bureau of Prisons custody, tells us Maxwell had horrible personal hygiene and would shower once or twice a week, despite prisoners having regular access to shower facilities. The inmate said Maxwell always had BO because she would work out all the time and rarely wash herself afterwards. That's another reason why we know she's not outside the facility. Because if she was walking around willy-nilly, you could smell her. And I hope she does not have access to like streaming services and cable, because there is a new series coming out about a woman, a murderer, who escaped prison, a white woman. And I'm like, don't get no ideas, but I feel like they would catch Ghislaine real quick. Maxwell always jogged around the recreation yard or walked briskly around the compound to get where she was going, according to the inmate. Oh, so you just increasing the funk. You already fuck, and then you just... Last July, TMZ published paparazzi photos of Maxwell along with a video of her breaking a sweat as she went for a run on prison grounds. So let me get this straight. 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 Because Maxwell and Trump have confirmed that they never broke off their friendship. So they partying. He smelled like shit because he pooping on himself and his depends and his pants. She walking around not washing the armpits, the cooter biscuit, the back of her leg, nothing. Okay. The back of her ears has probably got a thick line of dirt that you just scrape off. I'm pretty sure there's wax oozing out of her ears. I don't know. Just thinking. She got to have enough yeast to open up an STI bakery coming out of her cooter biscuit. So she's smelling like hot ass in the summertime, and he smelled like hot shit. Well, Epstein had a foot fetish. He wanted his foot rubbed on, sucked on, everything else, and he was collecting friends that loved to have their smelly, nasty feet rubbed on, sucked on, everything else. Like, he would put these mofos on planes and immediately tell them to take off their shoes and sweaty socks and have these poor children rubbing their greasy toes. Oh, my goodness. She was trying to attract more minions of flies. I can't. And get this, the inmate said Maxwell's reputation also reeked. Her fellow prisoners categorized her as a chomo, a child molester. Well, that's what she is, because of her conviction charges, and offered her little respect. And I bet you the only reason why they ain't beat her ass is probably because they thought that a disease was going to jump up off of her and start whooping their ass. Like, mink, mink, mink. Like, what? I'm not even in the prison with her, and I feel like she's hurting my nostrils. Hey, Harley girl. But the inmates insist Maxwell was never assaulted at FCI Tallahassee because no one wanted to get sent to the special housing unit, better known as the Hole, which was very hard living. I think y'all just didn't want the funk to rub off on y'all. Harley, no, girlie. Move. You're going to get stuck. You're in between the garbage can and the chair. Stop. And I wouldn't want a critter leaping off of her and coming over here. No. The inmate said the Hole acted as a deterrent to others thinking of assaulting Maxwell because you're confined 24 hours a day to your cell with cold food for months. She noted it's just not worth it. To get away from the funk, it would be worth it. It would be, put me in, coach. Put me in. I would rather. Plus, I'm an introvert with extreme anxiety. I already spend damn near 24 hours in a room by myself. Treat her like that super gonorrhea. I regret telling y'all about the y'all have carried that super gonorrhea story to every show. Comments, I see y'all, and everybody's so proudly telling us about super gonorrhea. Oh, Jesus. She got to be ground zero for the super gonorrhea. In August 2025, Maxwell was sent to the federal prison camp in Bryan, Texas, to serve out the rest of her sentence after her meetings with Deputy U.S. Attorney General Todd Blanche regarding the Epstein case. Is that why Todd agreed? Was he suffocating all up in there? She walked in the room and he's like, "Oh, what is the smell? Just a little cooter biscuit, Todd. That little cooter biscuit. That little cute little wild cooter biscuit that they tried to take." Blanche conducted 2 days of interviews with Maxwell. Blanche, I still can't stand your monkey ass, but I feel a little bad for your nostrils because your nostrils did not sign up for that. I know your eyes had to be boiling, not burning, boiling. Woo! Woo! Blanche conducted 2 days of interviews with Maxwell about Epstein's network of high-profile associates, namely President Donald Trump Sr. Maxwell denied Trump Sr. had committed any crimes with Epstein. Did y'all catch that? Did y'all catch that? See, people aren't asking the right questions for me because all along she said that Trump didn't commit crimes with Epstein. Not that he didn't commit crimes, not that he didn't commit crimes with other people, not that he didn't commit crimes in front of Epstein, not that he didn't witness crimes, that he just didn't do them with Epstein. Now, TMZ did reach out to Maxwell's attorneys for comment. So far, no word back. Just ask her, because for the petition of habeas, she's her own attorney. But not y'all reaching out to the attorneys to verify that she funky. Hold on. What should I do? It's, as I've stated previously, sometimes it's going to seem very redundant, the information that I give you, because it's going to come from multiple legal minds mulling them over. There will be multiple different avenues where people have updated, added to, picked apart, etc. So there's that. And I say that as we have to get a little bit more. We have to go back over to the serious side of things again. Sorry, I am. Anybody who was with us last night for the State of the Union address, I did 5 hours because there were two counter events prior to that, a lot of fact checking that had to go on, and I have additional fact checking that I will get out for you all today. My brain is exhausted and I am physically exhausted. So I am just asking for grace. I'm going to get through this and I'm going to get you as much information as I can, and I'm going to be as accurate as always. I'm exhausted. I am exhausted. And yes, I do know that I still need to get history nuggets out to y'all. The fan fictions, all of that good stuff. It's coming. It is coming. It is coming. I need some grace. Whew. So, White House cover-up exposed. DOJ illegally withheld FBI interview accusing Donald Trump of heinous crimes. House Oversight Committee reveals. Yes, I know we talked about this a little bit before. Little joke story about Ghislaine Maxwell smelling disgusting, like an unrefrigerated petri dish. And if you do not understand that reference, one, you had you had a primary school that didn't deal with petri dishes. Two, you were way more responsible than I was at between 6 to 9 years old. Why was I getting petri dishes at 6 years? I don't know. It was the school I went to. And why my mama let me put some of those petri dishes back in the refrigerator, I don't know. Maybe she's banking on natural selection. No clue. I don't know. But let's go. The Department of Justice has allegedly removed some of the Jeffrey Epstein files that reference Donald Trump Sr. The allegations against the president, 79, seen in the files, apparently claim he sexually abused a minor, according to NPR. The House Dems released a statement about the missing files. This is the statement that is on the screen. All right. Ranking Member Robert Garcia. For the last few weeks, oversight Democrats have been investigating the FBI's handling of allegations from 2019 of sexual assault on a minor made against President Donald Trump by a survivor. Yesterday, I reviewed unredacted evidence logs at the Department of Justice. Oversight Democrats can confirm that the DOJ appears to have illegally withheld FBI interviews with this survivor who accused President Trump of heinous crimes. Oversight Democrats will open a parallel investigation into this. Under the Oversight Committee's subpoena, and the Epstein Files Transparency Act, these records must immediately be shared with Congress and the American public. Covering up direct evidence of a potential assault by the President of the United States is the most serious possible crime in this White House cover-up. Now, this statement was released yesterday at 10:01 a.m. Eastern. So I wanted to make this clear, and so you could take a look at the statement, the official statement yourself. And also, we have to be deliberate and careful with our verbiage, especially moving forward. One, just like I told y'all with SCOTUS, stop saying all. Stop saying that the federal government is trying to cover this up. The federal government is not. We have the Epstein Transparency Act because of the federal government. We have members of the federal government attending protests, helping out with litigations, all sorts of things. It is not the federal government. It is specifically the Trump loyalty regime. Not all of MAGA, not all of the GOP, and not everybody in the administration, specifically the Trump loyalty regime. Because we know Susie Wiles thinks all of this is being handled improperly. She can't stand any of her co-workers. I'm not being facetious. She said this herself. She's like, y'all barking up the wrong tree when it comes to Clinton. She done told it all. But it is not the federal government. The federal government is not. If the federal government was coming together to cover this up, we wouldn't know anything about it. It would have never been a conversation on the campaign trail, nothing. If this has been a long-standing conspiracy, everybody would have been stifled a long time ago. The federal government is actually fighting in our favor. The problem is those that truly ascribe to the definition of the federal government are the minority right now. Now, closing it out, I know that's, well, okay. With that, yeah, I think we're all caught up. Yeah, we are all caught up. So I'm going to say I try to keep this to an hour. All righty. Just double check and make sure I went through all of what I was supposed to go through. Because sometimes I can lose track of my little checklist here. I try to tick things off as we go. Oh, nope. My apologies. There is one more that we need to close out. This is why I double check myself. See, this why. Epstein files reveal FBI's interest in former Victoria's Secret's owner. First of all, I always thought that it was weird that a man was behind Victoria's Secret. But we have Sydney Sweeney selling lingerie for women, but marketing exclusively to men. I'm going to say something. Women and femme-presenting individuals, if a man or your partner, period, gives you Sydney Sweeney lingerie, leave immediately. Take important documents, leave everything else behind, leave immediately and go someplace safe. This is being marketed to people with the mindset that you are property. You know. Federal documents released in the Jeffrey Epstein case show billionaire retail magnate Les Wexner faced years of FBI scrutiny over his relationship with the convicted sex offender as the 88-year-old prepares for a congressional deposition Wednesday in Ohio. Now, we've already talked about the deposition. I just found this information. How it got lost in the sauce of putting things together, I don't know. But as always, I'm bringing it to you now. Wexner, the founder of L Brands and former owner of Victoria's Secrets, appears more than 1,000 times in the Justice Department files related to Epstein. The documents reveal federal investigators repeatedly sought information about his decades-long association with Epstein, who died by suicide in 2019 while awaiting trial on sex trafficking charges. And here's the thing, even the most staunch, the most loyal sycophants of Trump are like, they're pointing out, oh, there's X amount of pictures of this person with Epstein or on his island or at his house in Manhattan or his place in Palm Beach, or, this person's name was mentioned, blah, blah, blah. Yeah, the name was mentioned. How was it mentioned in conjunction with stuff? And it's far less than the amount of times that Trump was mentioned. If Les Wexner was drugged before Congress for his name being mentioned more than 1,000 times, drag Trump in. If Bill and Hillary Clinton are being drugged in, drag in Donald Trump Sr. An FBI document from 2019 identified Wexner as a secondary co-conspirator, but noted there is limited evidence regarding his involvement, according to CNN's review of the files. Another document shows Wexner was among 9 people the FBI planned to approach following Epstein's arrest. We're interested in knowing about his relationship with Epstein and his knowledge and observations of Epstein with redacted girls, one FBI document stated. Wexner has consistently denied any wrongdoing or knowledge of Epstein's crimes. The relationship between the two began around 1986 when Epstein was introduced to Wexner as a financial advisor. By 1991, Wexner had given Epstein, and I've told y'all this before, and people thought that I was incorrect with this, but pay attention. By 1991, Wexner had given Epstein power of attorney, allowing him to manage his vast fortune with virtually no oversight, according to PBS NewsHour. But I tell y'all, when I give y'all information, I say I'm not making excuses for people. I want you to have a complete picture. I'm not joking. This is why Wexner is like, wait a minute, I feel like Epstein set me up. I'm going to keep drilling into you that by Epstein's own admission that has been heavily documented, he created blackmail, he gathered blackmail material, he put people in place in order to help him avoid accountability. He did not want to face the consequences. And he did not have the connection, the money, nor the intellect to pull off a lot of things that he needed to pull off throughout the years. Did he eventually, by the time he died, have more resources, have a better network regarding the plethora of crimes that he was committing? Because it wasn't just sex trafficking when you look at the grand scheme of things. And if you look at what Mandelson and Mountbatten Windsor were arrested on and what they're being investigated alongside of other things, yeah, there's more than just sex trafficking going on. There's more than one way to skin this. This is why. This is why I tell y'all. Wexner has said he severed ties with Epstein in 2007 after discovering the financier had stolen vast sums from him and his family. And this is why I said, was the beef between Epstein and Trump really because Epstein found out that Trump was a grifter, a con man, a thief? Or was it because Epstein had nothing that he could benefit from Trump? Documents show Epstein repaid $1 million to Wexner, thought to be just a portion of what was misappropriated, what was stolen. Let's call a spade a spade. But here's the thing, I told y'all, this is a college dropout who was not qualified to be a substitute math teacher that he started off being, and then he made the leap to financier. Yes, there were some things in between, but basically it was a leap. Cliff Notes version here. To financier. And for him to make the money that he made that quickly when he did not have the connections that he truly profited off of until much later, closer towards his demise than the beginning of when he started doing all these things. And Epstein very much lived his life like new money. He needed you to know he had money. He would get it and it would burn a hole in his pocket. He had to just throw it in the bag. He was not accustomed to being around certain people and certain things. Where'd you The files contain various allegations about Wexner's interactions with Epstein and young women. Virginia Giuffre, a prominent Epstein victim, claimed in court documents that Wexner was one of the men Epstein trafficked her to, an allegation Wexner has repeatedly denied, saying he never met Giuffre. Here's the thing, Congress, hey, Oversight Committee, woohoo, come here. Let me holler at you for a minute. Wexner hires private security and has cameras all over the place. Another victim already contended to this under oath, subpoena the people to come in and speak and subpoena the footage. At that level, there's backups for the backups for the backups. In a 2020 FBI intake form, an unidentified woman claimed she often saw Epstein with Wexner and alleged that Wexner would have models who could not have been over 18 years old do private viewings for him and Epstein. Wexner's spokesperson has called this statement false. And if we're going to drag Wexner in, it is no secret that weekly, Epstein's true bestie, Woody Allen, and Epstein would meet up. And we know what the public at large allowed Woody Allen to get away with. And how for far too long people demonize Mia Farrow. But y'all wondering how Epstein got away with what he got away with. And y'all acting like it was some massive cover-up. Once again, there's no need for a massive cover-up when you've normalized certain things within society. The House Oversight Committee subpoenaed Wexner last month as part of its investigation into Epstein's activities. Representative Robert Garcia, the committee's top Democrat, called the action an enormous step forward in following the money to identify anyone that enabled Epstein's horrific abuses. Wexner's deposition comes amid increased scrutiny of the Department of Justice's handling of the Epstein case. Representative Thomas Massie recently accused the DOJ of trying to shield Wexner from accountability by redacting names in released documents, calling it a cover-up that spans decades. FBI Director Kash Patel stated in September that there was no credible information Epstein had trafficked victims to other men. Attorney General Pam Bondi testified last week that investigators would love to hear from any additional victims. The additional victims that were sitting behind you, Pam. I thought y'all said that y'all thoroughly and completely vetted and investigated everything. Well, that concludes all of the updates we have thus far for today. As always, see you tomorrow with more information, more updates, more breaking news regarding the Epstein files, unless something tremendous pops up. I don't think that I will have any more for you regarding that today, but I will see you all in approximately an hour at 3:30 Eastern, 2:30 Central for the Taz Effect Daily News in a way you didn't know you could use. Until then, be good or good adjacent. I don't know. Go have a snack, lunch in between. See y'all in a little bit. Bye now.